Stop for a moment. Silence everything. Because what you're about to hear may not only alter how you see your past or future, it may shatter your entire perception of who you are. There is a forgotten truth, buried under centuries of silence, that few have dared to speak aloud. A truth so profound, it could awaken the sleeping memory hidden within your very soul. You see, before you ever opened your eyes in this world, before you took your first breath, your soul was on a sacred path. A cosmic journey guided by light, shaped by intention, and surrounded by beings of immense wisdom. But this knowledge, this map of the soul before birth, was never meant for you to know. And that's why they tried to erase it, to burn the book that held it, to silence the whispers of an ancient wisdom that confirms what your heart has always felt. You are not here by accident. In the shadows of old monasteries and locked vaults, there exists a manuscript. Some call it the Codex Anima. Others say it was part of the Gnostic scrolls, hidden from the public when the sacred texts were edited, redacted, and rewritten by empires that sought control. But no matter its name, its contents are undeniable. It reveals the stages your soul passed through before it incarnated. And today, that forbidden wisdom resurfaces. Because deep within you, something already knows. Something is remembering. Now imagine this. Long before your name was given, before your parents even met, there was a moment of pure awareness, a spark. That spark was you, not your personality, not your thoughts, not your fears or ambitions, just you, consciousness in its rawest form. And in that state of pure light, you were shown what it meant to exist. You were shown choices, possibilities, paths, pain, purpose. You were not sent here blindly, you came willingly, and the soul you carry now once stood at the threshold of time, gazing into the river of lifetimes, choosing this one, with full knowledge of what it would cost and what it could become. This knowledge was never lost, just hidden, not only from books and temples, but from memory itself. This is why so many feel an aching emptiness they can't explain. Why we dream of places we've never been. Why we cry at music we've never heard. Why we feel nostalgia for stars we've never touched. It's not madness, it's remembrance. They didn't want you to remember because remembering would dismantle everything. If you knew you chose this life, your family, your body, your greatest pain, then victimhood would collapse. Blame would evaporate. And control? It would shatter. The illusion only works if you forget who you are. But now here you are, hearing this. Not by accident, something inside you has called for this moment, and something greater is answering. You're beginning to awaken to the greatest secret. You were never born, not truly. You simply entered a story, and one day you will walk out of it. But between the first word and the last page, you hold the pen. And now, we will begin to remember together. Imagine yourself not as a child born into the world, but as a luminous being standing on the edge of eternity, looking down into the veil of time. Before matter, before memory, before even the first heartbeat, there, in the sacred stillness of the infinite, begins the first stage of the soul's path, the call of the universal consciousness. It is not a sound, not a voice in the way we understand it. It is a vibration, a magnetic pull from the center of all that is, calling out not in words, but in light, inviting your essence to return to experience. This call echoes beyond the dimensions of space. It moves through every fiber of divine knowing, and only those ready to grow, to evolve, to expand, hear it. You heard it. Your soul felt that whisper beyond the stars and responded not with fear but with ancient recognition. This is how your story began, not in birth, but in return. Next comes the life review, not a judgment, not a courtroom, but a mirror. A sacred hologram of all your past experiences, viewed from a higher vantage point. You see not only what you did, but how it rippled. Every smile, every pain, every silence, every act of love or neglect. You feel the impact of your presence in the lives you once touched. And unlike the world of punishment and blame you may have been taught, there is no condemnation here. There is only consciousness and clarity. The soul, bathed in divine compassion, reviews its own echo, not to be punished, but to understand. You recognize the threads left incomplete, the energies unresolved, and with that knowledge, you begin to craft your next mission. This is when the Council of Souls appears, a circle of beings who have known you across all your lifetimes, not judges, but allies. Wise, serene, luminous, each one holds a mirror to a different part of your soul. They guide without forcing, they counsel without commanding, and together you begin to design the next life, not as a punishment or reward, but as a curriculum. The precise constellation of challenges and blessings, relationships and trials, all chosen for one sacred aim: evolution. That toxic relationship you couldn't understand, chosen. That heartbreak that changed your entire worldview, chosen. Even the moment you felt most abandoned was written with love. Because sometimes the soul grows more in silence than in sound. Then you choose your purpose, not a job, not a role, but a vibration, a soul note, a melody your life will sing. Perhaps your purpose is to bring compassion into a lineage of control. Perhaps it is to reclaim truth in a world drowning in lies. Maybe it is to awaken others, or simply to awaken yourself. Whatever it is not small. Your soul chose this note before it chose your name. And everything that happens after, every detour, every failure, every unexpected blessing, will all conspire to bring you back to it. You don't find your purpose, you remember it, in silence, in pain, in synchronicity. Once your purpose is set, the next step may be the most misunderstood: choosing your family and body. You didn't land in your bloodline by mistake. You were not dropped here at random. You chose them. You chose your mother and father, your ancestors, and your DNA. Not because they were perfect, but because their imperfections would shape you in the exact way your soul needed. Even if they abandoned you, hurt you, misunderstood you, your higher self chose them for a reason deeper than the mind can grasp. Sometimes the greatest wounds create the greatest healers. Sometimes the harshest teachers forge the most luminous souls. The next stage is what mystics called the veil of forgetfulness. To make the human experience real, you had to forget. Forget the counsel, forget the choice, forget the light you are. Without forgetting, there can be no discovery. Without darkness, no contrast for light. So, the veil descended like a soft mist, and you entered the world crying, not in fear, but in shock. The shock of density, of limitation, of separation. But the veil is not complete. In dreams, in déjà vu, in those uncanny moments when your body remembers something your mind cannot explain, you glimpse the light behind the veil. You feel the pulse of the place you came from. That is not imagination, that is remembering. And then comes the final stage, the leap of faith, birth. The soul, vast and knowing, descends into a fragile body, into lungs that will breathe, a heart that will break, and eyes that will forget. It is the most courageous thing a soul can do, to enter the illusion and still try to wake up inside it. You made that leap, and every day you open your eyes, you continue that mission. You are not lost, you are on the journey home. Imagine for a moment that the soul is not a blank slate at birth, but an ancient traveler who returns to the earthly plane with secret scrolls inked in starlight. Each incarnation is not a beginning, but a continuation. And hidden beneath the veil of our forgetfulness are symbols, signs, and sacred moments that we once chose, long before we arrived. These symbols form the invisible threads of our story, woven into the patterns of our lives. They appear in dreams that feel older than our bodies, in places we've never visited but deeply recognize, and in people who, upon first meeting, feel like a long-lost home. These aren't coincidences, they're echoes, remnants, keys to a door your waking mind cannot see, but your soul has always known. One such symbol is the spiral, found etched into the walls of ancient caves, engraved in megalithic sites, mirrored in the galaxies above and the shells below. The spiral has no true beginning and no definitive end. It expands outward and inward at the same time. And like the spiral, the soul's journey is both a descent and a return. In the Codex Anima, the spiral represents the motion of the soul between realms, the great inhale of spirit into form and the exhale back into the light. To walk the spiral path is to know that we are never static, but always shifting, always becoming. It is the rhythm of transformation itself. Another symbol is the bridge. In many ancient traditions, a bridge is not merely a passageway between two places, but a trial of memory. A soul must cross the bridge of forgetting to incarnate, but it also must cross a second hidden bridge during life, the bridge of remembering. Often, this bridge appears during a moment of crisis, a loss, a great love, a strange knowing that doesn't make sense logically, but feels true beyond doubt. When you feel that internal pull to something more meaningful, more connected, more real, you are approaching the remembering. You are stepping onto that second bridge. And yet, many never cross it. Fear, distraction, and the illusion of separation keep them circling the same shores. But for those who dare to step forward, a revelation awaits. They begin to recognize patterns that repeat, not as punishment, but as calls to awaken. The same wound in different clothing, the same lesson wrapped in a new relationship, and suddenly, life stops being random. It starts speaking. In ancient Egypt, the soul was said to pass through the duat, a mystical realm filled with gates, guardians, and mirrors. The mirrors were especially important. They did not reflect your physical face, but showed you who you truly were. They revealed past lives, unresolved truths, soul contracts still pulsing beneath the surface. The Codex Anima describes a similar phenomenon in our waking life. Every person we meet is a mirror. Some reflect love, others fear. Some show us who we want to be. Others show us what we are still healing. None are accidents. The symbolic narrative deepens when we realize the world around us is a language, and we are fluent in it, though we have forgotten how to read. Numbers appear repeatedly: 1111, 222, 333. Animals cross our path with oddly specific timing. We hear phrases more than once in a single day, like whispers through the veil. These are the glyphs of the Codex made manifest. Reality is not a brute force machine. It is a dreaming mind, and it speaks in metaphor. The question is, are we listening? Now consider the sacred act of naming. In the old world, names were not random. They were prayers, maps, vibrational keys. To know the true name of something was to hold power over it. According to the Codex Anima, each soul has a secret name, a vibrational essence too complex for language, but sometimes remembered in sound, in mantra, in a note that brings us to tears for reasons we cannot explain. The name lives in your heartbeat, in your breath. And in moments of silence, if you truly listen, you may feel its rhythm, whispering back. Birthmarks, childhood fascinations, phobias with no known cause, an unexplained mastery of a skill. These too, the Codex says, are fragments of past incarnations trying to make contact, not to haunt, but to integrate. Your fear of deep water may not be irrational, but cellular memory. Your obsession with a certain era or culture may be a lifeline, reminding you of who you once were and what wisdom still sleeps inside you. Then there are the gateways, moments in life where time distorts. You may know them as déjà vu, as lucid dreams, as spiritual awakenings, as those seconds where the world seems to pause and everything becomes crystalline. In those windows, the veil thins. The Codex says these are the soul's checkpoints, times where your consciousness sinks back with the blueprint, a reminder, a nod, a whisper from your higher self saying, "You're on the path, keep going." All of this means that your life is not happening to you, it is happening for you. It is a collaboration between your soul, the sacred agreements it made, and the countless symbols woven into reality, designed to help you remember. To awaken is not to gain something new, but to recover something eternal. and the stories you tell yourself are the spells that shape the field around you. Every myth, every sacred text, every ancient teaching was not about worshipping something outside of you. It was a mirror, a code, a map pointing inward. The Codex Anima is not just a book. It is a mirror, a spiral, a bridge, and a compass, and it is written into your very being. What good is cosmic truth if it cannot transform your daily existence? The knowledge that your soul once chose this life, that it moved through sacred gateways before birth, and that it carries within it the memory of stars. This truth isn't meant to remain ethereal. It's not for debate or decoration. It's a compass, a guide, a tool that, when remembered, can turn every ordinary moment into sacred ground. Let's start with how you wake each day. Imagine this. Rather than rolling out of bed into routine, into numbness, into survival, you rise with the awareness that every breath you take was once chosen. You move not as a machine or a victim of circumstance, but as an eternal soul navigating a temporary form. Even the act of waking becomes part of a ceremony, the ritual of remembering. When you take that first conscious breath of the day, say inwardly, "I chose this life, and I remember." It's a simple invocation, but it initiates alignment. This awareness also redefines pain. Most of us resist suffering like it's a punishment. But what if it's a pre-selected portal, one that your higher consciousness willingly walked through, knowing that on the other side, there would be expansion? When a challenge rises, a loss, a betrayal, an illness, pause. Return to the soul's map. Ask, why would I have chosen this? What strength, lesson, or shift lies on the other side of this? This doesn't make pain vanish, but it transforms its meaning, and meaning is what the soul feeds on. Your relationships, too, are not accidents. Every person who provokes you, inspires you, hurts you, or heals you is part of a sacred web designed with your soul's evolution in mind. When someone wounds you deeply and you are tempted to spiral into blame or despair, step back into the soul's eye. Could this person be a mirror of an unhealed fragment? A contracted partner you once knew before birth who agreed to play this difficult role so you could awaken. Sometimes the people who challenge us most in life were the ones who loved us most in the space before time. In the modern world, we're taught to push, plan, calculate, but the soul's way is different. It listens, it intuits, it recognizes signs not with the intellect, but with resonance. Pay attention to the nudges, a phrase that echoes in your head, a repeated number on a clock, a dream that lingers long after waking. These are not random. They are echoes from your council of souls, from your pre-life agreements, from the divine part of you that still remembers the blueprint. Create space in your daily life for reconnection, not through complexity, but through stillness. Silence is the soul's native language. Even 5 minutes of quiet, with your hand over your heart, whispering "I remember," is enough to thin the veil. Journaling is another sacred practice, not to report, but to reveal. Ask your soul, what am I here to remember today? Let your hand move. Don't judge the answer, just receive. And then there's the body. This vessel you sometimes judge, resist, or ignore. Your soul chose it. With all its beauty and flaws, it was selected for a reason. Maybe your voice, your eyes, your skin, there's something encoded in them that someone else in this world needs to feel safe, seen, or inspired. Your body is not a mistake. It is your sacred instrument. Touch it with reverence. Move it with gratitude. Feed it with love, not punishment. Even your name carries vibration. The sound that calls you in this world may not be your eternal name, but it is the one that aligns with your earthly mission. Speak it with power. Let it become a spell of presence. In the workplace, in the grocery line, in the silence of heartbreak, this knowledge travels with you. It is your secret superpower. Others may see chaos, but you will recognize design. Others may see a detour, but you will feel destiny unfolding. When you live from the soul's remembrance, every event is either a lesson, a gift, or a message. Sometimes it's all three. This does not mean you will never falter, but it means you will fall with awareness, rise with intention, and walk through life knowing you are not lost. You are remembering. Now breathe. Not the kind of breath that merely fills the lungs, but the kind that opens something ancient in you. The kind of breath your soul once took before it leapt from the stars into matter. Because now, after all this remembering, you are standing at a threshold. You have not merely heard a story. You've awakened a cellular truth. You've stirred something sleeping inside your very DNA. Not a fantasy, not a metaphor, a knowing. The soul knows. And now you do too. You are not the body. You were never the name. You are not the stories you were handed, nor the wounds you've carried. You are the frequency, the field, the witness that chose this dream in order to become even more radiant when you awoke from it. The body was never your identity. It was your gateway. And when you look at the world through this lens, you begin to see how deeply the illusion runs. We were taught to look outward, to seek approval, to chase success. But those paths never led home. They led only to exhaustion, to disconnection, to that haunting question, is this all there is? Now you know, no, it isn't. There was always more. There was always a hidden manuscript in the vault of your soul, whispering its verses in dreams, déjà vu, heartbreaks, and ecstatic moments of clarity. It was always guiding you back. The truth is, you never really forgot. Not completely. Even as a child, you felt it, in the way you looked up at the stars and felt homesick for a place you couldn't name, in the way certain people felt instantly familiar, in the way your heart broke open, not because of pain, but because something holy was trying to pour through the cracks. You are remembering because it is time. The world is shifting. You can feel it. Old systems are breaking. The veils are thinning. The souls that were once asleep are beginning to stir. And among them, you are one of the first to rise. Not better, not above. Just early, just ready. And with that readiness comes a responsibility, not to preach, not to convince, but to embody. To live your life as a beacon for what is possible when one walks fully awake, when one walks with the memory of the stars in their heart and the courage of a soul that chose this exact life for a sacred reason. You don't need to change the world. You only need to change your frequency. The world will rise to meet you. So what now? Now you listen. You listen to the intuition that speaks in whispers, not shouts. You honor the synchronicities, the nudges, the dreams that feel like echoes. You walk through your life not as a body doing tasks, but as a soul remembering its way home. And most of all, you trust. You trust the plan you once made. You trust the pain that shaped you. You trust the timing that frustrates you. You trust that your soul has never been lost, only layered in forgetfulness. Now, the layers are falling away. This is not the end of a video, it is the beginning of your reawakening. If you've come this far, your soul brought you here. And if something inside you is trembling right now, don't push it away. That tremble is remembrance. So close your eyes, place a hand over your heart, and say silently or aloud, I remember. And from this day forward, walk with that memory in everything you do. Because they tried to burn the book, they tried to silence the wisdom, but they forgot one thing. You are the book. You are the light. And now, you are awake.